Hey everybody, I'm Cherry Holmes here with the FujiNet project, and I'm going to start doing a series of videos showing play of various games that we can load either network-wise or just regular games that you can load on FujiNet through network servers. And for the first one here, we're actually going to be loading an ATX version of Dimension X from Synapse Software over the FujiNet, over the internet, in its original copy-protected format to show how well this actually works. A little bit about Dimension X. Dimension X was written by Steve Hales, and it was his fourth game. I think in total it was his third game for Synapse, and actually was derived from a tech demo that a friend of his, Stephen Landrum, had given him. And it turned out to be, in his own words, one of the most difficult game designs that he had ever done. The tech demo that we're talking about is essentially a forced perspective demo using the smooth scrolling registers on the Atari 800 to produce a smooth scrolling checkerboard display, which is basically the centerpiece of the entire game. So we'll go ahead and actually select Dimension X off of the network here, going to atariapps.errata.online, going into the games folder, going into A8P, which is a folder made from copies of the Atari 8-bit preservation project. We will use the filter function to find a copy of Dimension X. And see here we have the ATX file format here. Select it, mount it into drive 1, mount it as read-only, and press Option to boot. Now what it's actually doing is it's copying the ATX file into memory so that it can take and provide proper disk timing. And one of the nice things about this is because of this, we actually get the game originally as it was intended to be played, loaded into memory with all the protection still intact. Now the protection on this disk is rather interesting because it not only consists of multiple bad sectors, not only does it consist of specific sector timing, sector skewing, but it also has multiple format commands that happen on the disk and literally relies on the disk being properly write protected in order for it to function correctly. It's a very brutal copy protection. But as we can see right here, with the ATX support that's built into FujiNet, it loads this disk effortlessly. We have a nice little title screen here with some color cycling effects and some Mode 2 text. We'll go ahead and hit the select key to show some of the options that can be done. We have multiple pilot skills, multiple shield strengths, aliens per sector. I'm going to keep everything as it is right now, and we'll go ahead and press start. And right away, we see the forced perspective front and center on this game. On the right-hand side, we have a radar display showing the number of enemies that are in a particular sector, or the type of sector, such as a fixed sector or the capital, etc. And as we move around, you can see the radar display changing so that you can see when you go to warp speed what sector you'll eventually wind up in. And this happens essentially counterclockwise. Going right will push the next sector counterclockwise versus left, counterclockwise, etc. And as you can see here, shooting is a bit of a hit or miss art here. You kind of have to really... It's a little bit of luck coupled with basically a need to not constantly be moving all the time. It actually helps to stay still while you are shooting. It makes things a tad bit easier. Okay, so we've secured this particular sector, and you can see as we're kind of zipping around here, you can see this next sector that we want to go to. Well, we want to go to the sector up on top, which has 7 aliens, so we go forward. And once we hit a certain point in the sector, the boosters will engage, and we'll go to the next sector. In this part of the game, the whole goal is to stay within those bars right here with your crosshairs, and to go up and or down across these little bars here, and don't get hit by them or they will drain your shields. Sometimes you get lucky and it's real easy, and sometimes it's not so easy. So now we have 7 guys to deal with here, no problem. Let's take and try to find it. Let's use our rangefinder to take and find it. Here's our first one. Again, nice and still. And shoot. You can see that the shots really don't correspond anywhere close to reality, even with the crosshairs. So you really need to be, it really is a big dose of luck just to hit these guys right. See, I'm literally shooting straight at him, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna randomly decide to accept the hit there. We want to be careful, because right now we just lost part of our shield. Yellow, yellow. Thankfully, we only lost our radar display. Could have been so much worse. We'll go ahead and try to get rid of this guy here. And the next thing is to remember essentially where we are. Since we don't have our next sector here, we're actually going to have to extrapolate and figure out where we are going to wind up based on the next sector that we wind up in. Boom, boom. And sector is now secured. Let's see where we actually wind up. And the goal is to get up to that F sector so that we can take and fix our ship. Boosters engaged. And let's see where we actually wind up. And the irony here is it's actually a lot easier to make sure that we wind up in the right place on the up and down versus the left and the right. Because if we, even for a split second, take and deviate outside of the bars on the left and right, then we hit our shields. So, okay, we wound up over here on the Capitol. That essentially means, let's see, let's go over this way. I mean, honestly, you look at the displays that are made here and you can definitely tell this was a tech demo that was turned into a game. Lots of really great graphics. Now, see, what actually happened here is I hit one of those little barriers. It looks like the little grids with dots. Those are deflection barriers, and if you hit them, the game will immediately transport you back to the Capitol with a corresponding dip in your shields. So we need looks like I very well may die on this particular one here, and if I do, then that's great. That's the end of the video. If I don't and I make it, we'll see if we can make it to the end of the game. We'll see how long I last. Oop. And again, now we have none. I can't take any more hits. I have to be perfect from here on out. Ouch. I seem to be stuck in a bit of a loop. Let's see if I can do this. Come on. What luck. I played a great game, got Advanced Warrior Class 4, and decided to record the video here, and now I'm just doing terribly. I may actually re-record this again, just so that I can appear to look okay. We'll fix it in the edit, I guess. Some things that aren't immediately visible on the video display are, of course, the fact that this actually, because this uses the horizontal scrolling, if you have certain widescreen displays, you can see the widescreen noise on the right-hand side of the display. Thankfully, when I take and record these with the frame buffer, I crop that out so you guys don't get to see that. But I mean, look at the absolute wonderful displays actually shown here. An excellent example of multicolored antic graphics and smooth scrolling here to actually produce this intricate display. Yep, and there we go. Novice Warrior, class 3. Wah, wah. And the thing is, when you win the game, the ending of the game is just as abrupt, except you get a congratulations message saying, hey, you beat the game. Advanced Warrior Class 4. So there you go. This was Dimension X by Steve Hales, written, published by Synapse Software in the spring of '84. And I'll be doing more of these in the future. I hope you guys absolutely enjoyed that. So until next time, guys, have fun.